President Trump and Elon Musk are saving money for the U.S. government and thereby the U.S. taxpayer. I knew Daddy Trump cared about us. He was just waiting for the right time to show it. Eric Trump has that same thing sewn inside his bedsheets. Elon Musk and his Doge team have claimed they have already cut out $65 billion of waste and fraud, equaling savings for the American people. Incredible! I'm going to invest my cut of the money in an up-and-coming fad called fidget spinners. They're going to be the next big thing to all end up in the ocean. Oh, forgot to mention, everything Musk said is utterly false. Some of the biggest errors in savings Doge has claimed is a USAID contract for $650 million that was listed 3 times by Doge, a Social Security contract listed as $232 million instead of $560,000, and an ICE contract that Doge listed as $8 billion when in reality it was $8 million. But confusing millions and billions is an easy mistake to make. Kind of like when I was saying I had slept with 3 million women and it was three women. But everyone had fun. But we can't laugh at all of this money Elon Musk has grabbed for you and me. If you did distribute that $2 billion or so in savings across taxpayers in America, which is what Elon Musk has said he would like to do, it would basically come to $2.42 a person. Boom! $2, mother. And who says having a white supremacist bobblehead with a breeding fetish as a de facto ruler of the country doesn't have benefits? Eat it, all you haters out there who don't have $2.40. And nearly 40% of contracts canceled by Musk's Doge are expected to produce no savings. Yeah. The truth is, Elon Musk and Donald Trump don't care about saving money any more than the Real Housewives of New Jersey care about Doctors Without Borders. What Elon and Donnie are up to is just a charade to shred the social safety net, public education, the judicial system, and a bunch of other things. If they, or anyone, actually wanted to save money for the U.S. taxpayer, there is one place they would turn. JCPenney, where the savings are out of this world. Thank you, JCPenney, for sponsoring this show and providing a single location where I can get a blouse, a spatula, and a remote control car, but not much else. Actually, the one place Trump and Musk should look to cut waste is the U.S. military, which has a nearly $1 trillion a year budget and accounts for around 50% of all discretionary spending. And while Trump has made comments about decreasing the Pentagon budget, he also has said he never knew Jeffrey Epstein, and he has a great head of hair, and he currently has a six-pack. It's just hidden under 70 pounds of Popeye's biscuits and gravy family buckets. What I'm trying to say is, there's no sign he's heavily cutting the Pentagon budget. The Senate Budget Committee's resolution calls for a $150 billion increase in defense spending over the next decade, while the House is calling for a mere $100 billion more. But maybe that $1 trillion a year that the Pentagon gets is going to good use. For example, right now, the U.S. military is looking to pour money into the renovation of 35 golf course sand traps at the Woodlawn Golf Course at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Well, okay, so they have some golf courses. Big whoop. I see nothing wrong with cutting school lunches for poor children while the Pentagon has 3 or so golf courses. The Intercept counted about 145 golf courses, although that is something of an understatement. 145 golf courses! Holy mother of George Foreman! But not to fear, Doge has been cutting some military personnel. There are calls from Doge to cut as many as 80,000 jobs from the Department of Veterans Affairs, while the U.S. military's golf habit is not on the chopping block. Yes, PTSD now stands for good luck getting medical treatment. I know it's completely different letters, but the young soldiers don't know that because we've gutted public schools. I can't believe Trump puts up with this garbage from the Pentagon. Why wouldn't Trump say, hey, dickheads, no more taxpayer money for golf? Oh, right. President Donald Trump reportedly played at least 289 rounds of golf at a cost to taxpayers of at least $150 million for travel and security during his first term. Yeah, dude loves spending taxpayer money to stand on a hill and swing at a little tiny ball. Oh, so cute, a little tiny ball. Oh. But the truth is, I'm burying the lead. The main story here now and for years is the $21 trillion of unaccounted for financial adjustments at the Pentagon and Housing and Urban Development. Economists Mark Skidmore and Catherine Austin Fitts, former Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, conducted a search of government websites and found similar reports dating back to 1998. While the documents are incomplete, original government sources indicate $21 trillion in unsupported adjustments have been reported for the Department of Defense and the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the years 1998 to 2015. That includes $6.5 trillion in 1 year alone. And that number is much higher today than it was in 2015. There is more than enough savings in the Pentagon to do anything the American people want. But let's take a quick moment to try and understand what $1 trillion is. I'll quote some two-bit hack named Lee Camp, who wrote an article about this a while back. Picture a stack of money. Now imagine that the stack of dollars is all $1,000 bills. Each bill says $1,000 on it. How high do you imagine that stack of dollars would be if it were $1 trillion? It would be 63 miles high. 63 miles high. That's higher than Snoop Dogg riding on Alex Honnold's back. And to get to 21 trillion, we're talking a stack 1,323 miles high. This is the single greatest money laundering scheme ever created in the history of humans. And yet it's a smaller story than how a TikTok cook spends her Sundays. That was the front page of the New York Times this week. I'm not kidding. Trillions of dollars lost to the Pentagon, not important. In one of the only in-depth pieces written on the $21 trillion, Dave Lindorf reported in The Nation magazine, for decades, the DOD's leaders and accountants have been perpetrating a gigantic, unconstitutional accounting fraud, deliberately cooking the books to mislead the Congress and drive the DOD's budgets ever higher. DOD has literally been making up numbers in its annual financial reports to Congress, representing trillions of dollars worth of seemingly non-existent transactions. When this story started gaining traction in 2018, some dumpster fire media outlets tried to run coverage by saying, it's not fraud, it's just accounting errors. Those poor Pentagon generals were just making loads of accounting mistakes, probably while hitting a little tiny ball. Oh. No, this is not an accident. One mistake, fine. Trillions of mistakes, that's a plan. It's like saying you had sex with 21,000 wild donkeys because you tripped and fell. 2 or 3 donkeys, sure. But you get to a dozen, you have some splaining to do. Even a Forbes article on the $21 trillion said, let's recall that this is not simply a matter of boring accounting. Trillions in unaccounted outlays, if that's what's involved here, is trillions of our tax dollars being spent without our knowledge. If that's the case, we're talking about the biggest government financial deception in the history of the country. You know how else you can tell when a massive fraud is intentional? When there's a cover-up. So is there a cover-up? I'm glad you asked, Lee. Indeed, more than 16,000 records that might reveal either the source or the destination of some of the $6.5 trillion in a single year had been removed, the Inspector General's office reported. And much like the Lord of the Rings, prequels, sequels, requels, and nyquils, it only gets worse. The Pentagon has failed all 7 of their audits. And when they fail these massive audits, sometimes they tell the public something useful. For example, at the last one, the Pentagon admitted they can't account for 63% of their nearly $4 trillion assets. They can't account for 63% of their shit? I have a drunk uncle like that, but he runs an adult toy store. Losing track of a box of nipple clamps is a little different than losing Black Hawk helicopters. And I know what you smarties out there are saying. Lee, the Pentagon is not missing real things. These are unaccounted for financial adjustments. It's not a lost helicopter or stuff in a warehouse or something. Yes, it is. In fact, it's the whole warehouse. In 2019, the Navy located a warehouse that was mysteriously absent from its property records. Inside the warehouse, the Navy found $126 million worth of spare parts for the P-8 Poseidon, the P-3 Orion, and the F-14 Tomcat, the latter of which the Navy retired in 2006, over a decade previous. And that's just the warehouse they found. And then other times, the military just loses literal pallets of money. During the Iraq War, they sent $12 billion of shrink-wrapped cash to Iraq and never saw it again. I wonder if they tried putting up lost money posters on lampposts. Hey, have you seen this bundle of cash? She answers to Schnookums. Please bring her back to us. Why does the mainstream media almost never cover this unbelievable fraud? Well, maybe it's because they have smaller balls in the game of golf. Little tiny balls. They're afraid to reveal the truth. I wrote one of the most viral articles about this topic, and not long after that, I became one of the most suppressed and censored comedians in America. After doing his excellent investigation for The Nation magazine, Dave Lindorf found himself pulled aside for special screening at Heathrow Airport. This happened more than once. When he got home, Lindorf called the Department of Homeland Security to speak with a press representative who said that it sounded like he had been put on one of 3 or 4 federal terrorist watch lists. So, investigate Pentagon fraud and waste, and you might be declared a terrorist by the U.S. government. But don't worry. Elon Musk says cutting Social Security for your 90-year-old grandma will make us all happier by saving us loads of money. And that way, the Pentagon gets to keep their 145 golf courses, 112 of which they can actually account for.